Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome back to the CyberPulse podcast. Have you ever faced a period of your life where you were stuck or unfulfilled? And if so, what small changes or habits or mindset help you start moving forward a more meaningful life? Well, today we have Lenny, a true example of personal transformation. After being kicked out of college twice and struggling through a period of depression, Lenny's life changed when he discovered the ancient philosophy eudaemonia, which is all about living a meaningful and fulfilled life. He went from being broke, overweight, and anxious to thriving before 30. Welcome to our podcast, Lenny.
Thank you so much, Justin. I appreciate it.
Well,
I'm excited.
how do you say that word? Eudaemonia?
It's eudaemonia.
Well,
Of
eudaemonia
course.
too, man. Eudaemonia. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you having me on. It's a weird word. It's a weird word.
Yeah, I never heard that before. We would love to know where that word came from and also share with us your motivations and how you got on this path on your journey.
Yeah. So I guess I'll kind of go a little bit back. I don't want to be super long-winded, but I'll take it a little bit back. Yeah. So originally, when I came up with eudaemonia, I was in college. I went to Penn State. For anyone that lives in the U.S., if you're familiar with Penn State, went to Penn State. Initially, went on an engineering scholarship. I was kind of in between doing biomedical engineering and industrial engineering. Didn't know which one to pick, and sort of as I kind of thought about it, for anyone that's unfamiliar, usually at the end of your sophomore year, you have to kind of officially declare your major. Got to the end of my sophomore year and decided that I didn't want to do engineering at all. And at the time too, I was going through a little bit of depression and just feeling lost in general. Not choosing engineering, I didn't think this through, caused me to lose my scholarship. And since I lost my scholarship, I couldn't afford college. And that's what led to me getting initially kicked out. Sort of in December, I remember that December, I think it was 2012 or something like that. They sent me a very formal letter pretty much saying, don't come back next semester. You can't afford it. Yeah, so you can imagine, like, I was already feeling a little bit depressed and a little bit lost. Then I get this letter, and then it's like, oh God, what do I do now? So now I have to find like a real job and kind of be thrust into the real world, so to speak. Depression kind of kept going up because I was around people who were just unhappy with their job. I was working at a gas station and I was working at a bar and doing other things too, but those are the main two jobs. Eventually wanted to change where I was in life, and I kind of thought to myself, I need to ask questions. I need to ask questions to get the results I want. Couldn't find people who I could ask because it's a college campus. I still ended up living off campus. People at Penn State don't really want to be very introspective and talk about, depression and all that stuff. They just kind of want to party and study. So I ended up going to the library that was off campus, started reading, got into philosophy that led me to Greek philosophy. And then through Greek philosophy, I learned about eudaemonia, which for anyone listening, eudaemonia is essentially the good life or the fulfilled life. So that's kind of how I reached that point of learning about eudaemonia. And then once I learned about it, there's sort of a framework behind eudaemonia that Socrates, who came up with that concept, suggests to people. And ever since then, I've been kind of following that framework, and it's kind of led me down my self-improvement journey so far.
That is a beautiful story. It's interesting that we have to go through something in our lives to kind of learn and understand that one door is not meant for us, but another door is going to open up. But sometimes you have to go through like that down, the depression, the not knowing, and it can be not having that being that unknown. It's really hard sometimes. But then it seems like we find like things that yours, the philosophies to kind of help drive our lives forward. I've been there myself, and it's interesting how life works that way.
Yeah. I used to, in a long time ago, kind of when I was going through all this, I had a weird mindset where if anything bad happened, you kind of get the woe is me mindset, and why is this happening to me? This is awful. I hate this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Happening to me.
Um, yeah, but then like over time, you kind of, at least for me, I started to try to reframe it. And my thought process was maybe this is like a challenge, or maybe this is setting me up for something a lot better. And I don't know, this sounds maybe a bit woo woo or, like magical or mystical, but I like to think that if you kind of reframe what happens to you in life, to a degree, of course, it could be in a sense empowering, or it could be in a sense sort of a boost. It makes you think that maybe you can do more with the bad stuff that happens, if that makes sense. Hopefully that all makes sense.
It does, yes. I've been talking to my friend recently about reframing, Then when you reframe stuff, it kind of gets you in a different mindset to think about things differently. You're not always stuck in that same way of thinking that got you from maybe point A to B, but it's not going to get you further without reframing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think more people should try to reframe whenever possible. And I know it's easier said than done too. Like if something bad happens to you, it's easy to kind of say, "Oh man, this is awful. Why does this bad thing happen to me?" I'm weird about like philosophy, and I have this maybe somewhat controversial take that good and bad, to a degree, don't really exist. It's more about perspective and which side of the good and bad fence you're sitting on, if that makes sense.
It does. I get that. But I'm like, when you're going through it, sometimes you're really stuck in something. It can be so hard to kind of see the light of day. It can be so hard to get out of that frame, that mindset to kind of like, wait, is there more out there? Can I do something better? A lot of people find themselves kind of stuck there. What really helped you get out of that? I know not everyone's like, oh, I don't have the tools. Oh, we're different. You're not like me. You don't understand. But we're all human beings. We go through the same things in different ways. What are some of the tools and things that you were using to get there?
Yeah, so to mainly it was books at the time. That was sort of the main thing I kept referring back to. A lot of books. I think around this time when I first kind of learned about eudaemonia, and we're on a podcast. This is going to be like an hour or whatever long podcast. So this sounds like it's all happening like back to back. But this, of course, is like stretched out over years and months or whatever. But kind of over time, you read books and you hear about other people's stories, and you kind of, in a sense, relate to them. And at least what I did is I would try to compare myself. People, there's a quote, comparison's the thief of all joy. I think that's sometimes true. I don't think it's always true. I think sometimes it's good to compare yourself to other people. I don't think you shouldn't take someone who's like above you and compare your worst day to their best day. Cause I think
We do that a lot.
yeah, like you don't want to do that. That'll beat you down and make you feel worse about yourself. But I do think it helps to kind of compare. I do this all the time. Like say for example, at the time, huge role model for me was Dwayne Johnson. And I remember he doesn't have any books that I know of at least, but I remember he did have this interview with Oprah. And this is around the time when I was getting deeper into reading and trying to really do self-improvement. He had an interview with Oprah where he talks about, I think he was with his mom and she was going through, I forget the exact story, some depression, and they were on the highway, I believe, and she got out and she almost got hit by a car. And I think this was like either after his dad not passed away. Something happened with his dad. Maybe his mom and dad broke up. I forget the exact story. But you see someone like Dwayne Johnson, who nowadays it's hard to not see him. I mean, he's a physically big dude, so it's also hard to not see him. He's so big, but he's also just super famous and super successful. It's hard not to see him. But when you hear where he came from, like his development and all the stuff he went through, you think to yourself, or at least I thought to myself, if he can go through these things and turn out, at least on the surface, okay, I can at least try. I can at least try to get like somewhat close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me that was super motivating, and that's kind of the thing that at the time at least really kept me, I guess, from doubting myself too much. And for anyone listening, by the way, like I'm saying, it's not like every day I would listen to Dwayne Johnson and never ever feel bad about myself or never ever feel unmotivated. This is like a gradual, one day you feel good, a couple of weeks you feel bad, but then you start to pick yourself up and hear some more stories.
People think you have to feel good all the time, but they
Yeah.
understand we go through things all the time. Like one day, like you said, it's bad. One day is great. Other day, you're like, oh, this sucks. What am I doing with my life? You know, it's
Yeah.
human nature.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a natural part of the human experience, I would say.
And we have to give ourselves more credit than we deserve sometimes. We put ourselves down so much, but like, there's so much that we're capable of, but just giving us that space and having shows like this or help people understand how to get there in different ways is truly valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was kind of the main thing I would do. And to this day, I still like to look at a bunch of different people. I know one of the most recent books I've read about somebody was Arnold Schwarzenegger, his Total Recall book.
Ooh, I
If
haven't touched that one yet.
It is amazing. I love it. I recommend it to literally everyone that asks me about book recommendations. Highly recommended. Arnold's a fascinating dude. I mean, of course, people know who he is, and he has his own reputation, of course. But Yeah. But when you think about his life, like to be honest, whenever I think about eudaemonia, the first person that comes to mind nowadays is Arnold. Not to, toot his horn too much, but dude's an immigrant, came to America at a time where from Austria to America wasn't the easy, it wasn't as easy as it is now to just hop on a plane and go somewhere, get your passport stamped. Very different times, at least the way he describes it.
Had to put a little more work into it.
Yeah. Him going from being six-time Mr. Olympia champion to a lot of people don't know this. He has a really big real estate portfolio. So he was successful from selling like workout plans and from real estate before he was successful as an actor, which a lot of people don't know. But to me, it's a pretty interesting insight into him. So he's kind of like got the financial pillar checked off. And really quick, I don't know if I mentioned it, but if anyone's unfamiliar with what eudaemonia is composed of, I call it pillars. It's pretty much health, wealth, and relationships. And Socrates kind of says, if you're constantly working towards building up your health, building up your finances, and building up your relationships, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a good life. He doesn't mean like you don't need to be rich. You don't need to look like Arnold in his prime, on potentially on steroids and, huge, anything like that. But it's just the progression towards always improving that he suggests makes a good life, which I would agree with. But Arnold health pillar, dude is like, to this day, references about bodybuilding probably are from Arnold. Finances, I think he at a time was the top actor in the entire world, or at least one of the most popular actors in the entire world. People still reference Terminator to this day. People still reference his other movies, Predator, things like that.
Last Action Hero. That was one of my
Last,
favorites.
yeah. So many. Yeah, I think they just remade there's another movie a couple years ago. I forget which movie. Was it Total Recall, I think. They
You did redo that one, yes. That's what I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about first, but you said you wrote a book called Total Recall, so now I have to check that out.
Yeah. Funny enough, yeah, he has a movie and a book called Total Recall.
Yeah.
But yeah, relationships. He didn't have the best turnout with his marriage, during his whole governor situation. But as far as general connections goes, I would say he's a very well connected guy. But he's one of those people I like to compare myself to in a good way and think to myself, if he can do it, I can at least try to do it and give it my all.
I
Try to
like
build
how
up
you
pillars.
Yeah, I like how you have that sentiment because to look at it and be like, well, if he can do it, at least I can try to be a little bit better each day. And that's all people need to do. Just remember, just do a little bit each day, not try to do it all at once and compare yourself to their end, not their beginning, which we do a lot. You see, look how successful he is. Why can't I get there? You can just do little bits each day, little baby steps. You'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to do nowadays with social media too.
Well,
So
everyone's lifestyle, and they're like, "Look what they're doing. Look what they have. Oh my god, I'm overwhelmed. I'm doing nothing."
yeah, it's admittedly it's hard nowadays for anyone listening or watching. It is hard, but I think I think if you shut out all the people who are trying to flex and the people who are really trying to just push the overly positive things in your face and kind of take a step back and be more reasonable and kind of, if you do compare yourself to somebody, compare the entire process or as much of their process as you possibly can. I think that's a healthier way to go about it.
I agree. No, I admit when I started out like doing my podcast, doing my business down this journey, I did those same things. I was overwhelmed. I was frustrated. I didn't know that I didn't have to do it all myself. I didn't know that I needed to look at how they started and where they started, not where they are right now. That kind of gave me so much overwhelm that I didn't want to do anything and I didn't get it. And it took me a lot of soul searching on this journey to realize, okay, I'm on my own journey, not theirs. I need to do this in my way and figure that out for myself. It can be hard for people sometimes because you see all that fame and money and cars. You gotta get your priorities straight.
Yeah, no, for real, it's true. Sorry, I know I talk probably too much, but
Please.
there's a story. When I graduated college, or I think a little bit after I graduated college, I had a friend who had graduated before me, and he was, I won't say depressed, that's a strong word, but he was feeling really bad about himself. And this is kind of like when social media was first really taking off. This is probably 2016-ish, 2016, 2017. I think Instagram was like really, really popular at that point, and a lot of like kids especially were making all this crazy money and
I'm a
flexing.
MySpace kid, so I go way back.
MySpace was the good old days. That was the That's the
Right?
more fun platform. But yeah, so he would see like a lot of people from college or people from his high school just graduating, and on social media they're all of a sudden on all these vacations and already married, and he's like, how are they doing this, first of all? And how do you not get upset that you see other people flexing or having these great lifestyles while we're more or less average? And my thing to him was, one, I don't look at it that much. I don't like to sit there and compare, people I know personally or people I know loosely too much.
You get
um
lost in that.
yeah, you get lost in it. You start overthinking things, and you compare like way too heavily, and it just messes with your head.
Become delusional.
Um, yeah. The other part of it too was I was telling him, you don't even know if it's real. Like some people, I've known people who will go on like crazy vacations and they'll post about it on social media, but they won't post that they max out like two of their credit cards to do
Mm.
it, and they're probably going to struggle in the next few months to pay it back, or maybe the next few years to pay it back.
Or
So
they
it's like you.
rented the car.
Yeah, or they rented the car, they're like really overplaying. I've seen people nowadays who like rent out like private jet, like not even like the private jet, they rent out like
The
it's
frame.
almost like yeah, kind of like a frame, like a photo booth type setting where you can like sit there and it looks like you're looking outside, but it's just like a setup to take photos. It's like people will make things up, so
Right? You
you
would think we would be smart enough to see and understand that, but it's just people don't really remember how to think for themselves and really look at the picture and understand. I don't. Somebody blows my mind sometimes. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I'm just a guy on the internet.
Yeah, I now it's crazy. I even saw one guy on YouTube. This is probably a few months ago. This one guy on YouTube, he did an experiment where I actually thought this was pretty clever. He took I think it was Adobe has like a new software where you can cut out backgrounds and do like AI
Yes.
generated backgrounds. He would take photos like just in his house, cut out the background and replace it with like Paris or Bali or Mykonos, something crazy, and pretend like he's just globetrotting all over the place, and people would believe it. And then they found out it was a prank. They got so mad, but it just kind of goes to show it's.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I may or may not have contemplated this myself, but
Right. Note to self.
it's like, hey, like Lenny, Justin, you guys were just doing a podcast. How can you guys be all the way in like Japan, or you were in Japan yesterday? How are
Podcast is
you?
in Japan. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
here. Sucks
But
because people can't really see the differences sometimes on those photos, and it's getting better and better, unfortunately.
yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
No, yeah, but that was pretty much it. How yeah, he was very like immersed in people's lives, and I pretty much told him you can't look too deeply into what people post, because people post half the story. And if you get too caught up in it, it's just a recipe for unhappiness.
Right? They post what you want them to see or what they want you to believe, not what's actually
Mhm.
going on. It's interesting. A lot of this stuff I see online sometimes, people are almost like they're posting it from a place of like fear or inadequacy, that they've lost control of their lives or who don't know quite who they are, that they're trying to portray this image of themselves without actually trying to figure out and do the work on who they actually are.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree on that.
Strong.
It's the seeking of external validation. I think that's
Yeah.
I think nowadays that's pretty, in my personal opinion, I find that to be a bit problematic for a lot of people.
100% it is. For all of us, I feel. Shoot.
Yeah,
Huge issue we're going through right now. I feel like it's going to get worse. With the
yeah,
internet, with AI, like dating apps. People don't come out and meet people in real life anymore. They get stuck on their apps. They're like, "What? I gotta meet someone? Okay, swipe left, swipe right. I'm good. Next."
yeah,
Come on, we're human beings. We have to connect. We have to interact. Let's get out from behind the computers, the screens, and let people know us for who we actually are. It's
yeah,
okay. Not everyone's gonna like you. That's fine.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what we're gonna do about it, how the future looks with all this, but it's something, man. It's like looking at life in an hourglass or something. Just watching everyone run around. It's like humanity.
Yeah, we're officially in the Black Mirror show.
There we
I
go.
think
That's a great example. I like that.
we're pretty much there. A lot of the old episodes, we're either at that point or we're like really close to getting with at least the original seasons.
Look at those shows as like a real life experience. Those weren't real. Oh,
Yeah,
that's some real stuff.
yeah, no, completely. Not to get like too off topic, but Good. I find this to be fascinating
Yeah.
conversation. I saw literally there's a Black Mirror episode for anyone that's watching and listening. They might be familiar with it. This to sum it up, there's a lady who I believe her husband passes away in a car accident, and there's sort of this AI that goes through the internet and takes pretty much everything he's ever posted in his profile and essentially memorizes it so that it can mimic him. It's not good enough for her initially, so they have this, I guess, robot type machine. I forget exactly how it worked, but you put it in the bathtub and it essentially becomes that person. So the AI gets like downloaded into that person and
Hi,
it
I'm
looks
back.
like him. Huh?
Hey, hi, honey, I'm back.
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, that's what happens. Like he pretty much comes down the stairs and she's like, "Oh my god, it looks just like him." And it acts like him, it talks like him. It effectively is him. And so literally like I think yesterday or 2 days ago, there's I don't know the full story, but I guess some guy was attacked and passed away in this attack. And so the guy that attacked him went to court and the wife showed up with a video of her deceased husband pretty much saying, I wish this hadn't happened the way it had happened. We could have been friends in a different life. I'm sad that you did A, B, and C to me. Like, this is not him recording this. This is
Yeah.
her getting AI to say things that she believes he would have said had he lived, almost trying to, I guess, I don't know if sympathize is the right word, but connect with the attacker. And I thought to myself, this is Black Mirror. We have people from beyond the grave at their own funeral or at their own court, I guess,
Didn't it kill
procedure.
you? What's happening here? What?
Yeah, it's crazy to me,
It
but
is good because you can do that now with a lot of like Notebook LM and a lot of these large language models. You can actually recreate stuff. That's a real thing that exists. It's scary.
scary.
You can put all your videos and your frames of all the voices, everything into it, and it can redeposit as if they were still there. Bring up an image of them, a video, move it around. It's real. I've seen it. That's where we are. This is who we
Yeah,
are now. This is what we've become. Hope you're happy. No.
yeah, it's scary stuff. I do think though, in the grand scheme of things, with all the technology and the AI kind of being so, I guess, predominant in our society, that's one more reason for people to focus on themselves, not in a bad way, but focus on developing their own skills and socialize in real life, interact more as best as they can.
I agree. No, people forget that because they look at AI and all that stuff as a threat. But the only reason I feel they look at it as a threat because they don't, like I said, they don't understand themselves or where they fit in this world exactly. People feel like, oh, I have this job, I go to work, this is what I do. Now AI comes along and putting that in jeopardy. Now I'm in fear. I'm scared. I don't know how to react to this. But in terms, once they figure out who they are, they can realize and understand that it's nothing to fear, but something can work alongside you and help you with your job, not replace you, but make you better and significantly increase your viability in the world. But that's just me.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree.
But people are just so scared. Like you said, we gotta do some work on ourselves. We gotta figure that out. Have you been working with other people or coaching them to actually help them with your philosophy?
Yeah. So now the primary thing I do now is a productivity accelerator, and it's a time management and productivity based business. The reason why I kind of focus on the productivity and time management aspect of it is in the past, I did have a business that was more about building the pillars of eudaemonia, so health, wealth, and relationships. But the problem that I had was that for the clients I got, I think it was too overwhelming for them. I think it's difficult to kind of get somebody to 1 month work on their health and then the next month jump on their finances and the next month try to work on relationships. It's all over the place. It's difficult for me to give good advice on those three pillars because everyone's so different. So it's hard to know, everyone's got so many different things within those pillars that they need to work on, which I can't obviously, I think, effectively help with. So my thought process was instead of me trying to get people to focus on those three pillars directly, what's the thing that allows someone to work on those pillars indirectly, I guess? And that thing, at least for me, was time management. Because to me, if you have good time management, you can dedicate time to building up your health pillar if you want to, or wealth pillar if you want to, relationships if you want to. So that's what I focused on. And that's kind of where this current business came from. So I feel like indirectly I am helping them work on those things, but not super directly.
Well, time management is a very huge thing and very valuable that people don't quite see or really understand what that means. Like, a lot of people don't understand that time is the most precious thing we have on this planet. And then to be able to manage your time correctly, they can work on all of those things: fitness, the goals, the finances, like you said. As long as they manage it correctly and they learn how to really use time management as a superpower.
The main thing, this is one of the main things I've been trying to help people with, is really trying to value their time more. And that sounds very basic and that sounds super straightforward.
Powerful though.
But to me, it's interesting how I think I have a kind of a theory about this. I think because time is so abstract and you can't really see it, it's easy for it to kind of slip away.
Does time really exist?
That's a good question.
Have a conversation.
That's you're gonna get me down the philosophical.
Yeah, I love that.
No, I love that question. But yeah, like in the more general sense, I feel like time kind of like slips away for people. It's easy for someone. I'm guilty of this myself too, where I might play like a video game, and you in your mind you think I'll play for 20 minutes. 20 minutes turns into 2 hours, and then you're kind of like, oh, where'd the time go? It was bright when I started. Now it's dark.
5 days later.
Yeah. Like I've been on this like week binge. What's going on? Where'd the time go? Haven't eaten in days. But but yeah, it's easy for time to slip away because I think we can't see it like in front of us. Compare that to say like money in your bank. It's a lot easier for someone to see that maybe in their account they had, make it up a number, like $100 yesterday, and then today it's at 50. So they can go, okay, I lost a bit of money or I spent some money. I get that. I think in a lot of our minds, time feels infinite.
I can see that. Yeah, they can't touch it. They can't feel it. It's like, what is this? Doesn't exist. There's that word again.
Yeah. As a slight side tangent, I remember years ago I was reading this. I forget what book it was. It was a finance book, but there was a part in the finance book about people in the past when they were offered, I think it was Ks. Initially, you had to opt into a 401k. And so they did research and they found out that a lot of people don't do a good job at seeing themselves in the future. So a lot of people like really just see themselves in the next like 1 to 5 years at best. And that's probably, yeah, really like for a lot of people, it's really like they see themselves throughout the day. Maybe some people who are more forward thinking throughout the week or the month or maybe the year. 5 years at best for like some rare individuals. But very rarely do they find people actually projected that far out, like to retirement age from when they were like 20 to 65 or whatever they retire.
I'm still learning.
It's hard because it's not on your mind that much that you're going to eventually be an older version of yourself and that might have its own individual unique problems.
I'm going to live forever. What are you talking about?
But so what they eventually found is that a lot of people weren't opting into the 401k, and I think they passed some new law or they changed it up. So nowadays you have to intentionally opt out of a 401k at a lot of companies because a lot of people just didn't think it through. So they never checked to opt in. But I bring that up just because for a lot of people, and this is something I've seen with a lot of clients of mine, is they don't put a value on their time because they can't see it. So I try to get them to like, first of all, how much is your time worth? Is it worth $25? Is it worth $50 an hour, $75 an hour? And I say that to them because I think when you start seeing every hour as having its own unique value, it helps you make better decisions throughout your day. Like if I told you that your time is worth, say, $50 and you wanted to watch Netflix, and I say to you, okay, are you happy spending $100 to watch Netflix today?
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people are like, oh, that's a lot of money. It's like, it's not literal, but it's just to give you an idea of how much your time should mean to you. So that's been one of the biggest things I've been trying to really focus on with people, is getting them to evaluate their time more.
I can really concur with that. I know for myself, I didn't really understand the value of time or even money until I started building my business and working on myself. I started understanding that, oh, now I don't have enough time to do all these things I want to do that I'm passionate about. I found a purpose to do. And it's like, oh man, where did I find more time now? But now that's kind of the next level. When you have less time, you gotta find ways to kind of build that time up, of course, and use it wisely. It's hard. Like you said, there's nothing you can see or touch. And a lot of people, I talk to people like, oh, I'm just trying to get through the day. I'm just trying to get home. I'm just trying to get my paycheck. And you just look at them, they're so miserable, but they're not happy. They're just trying to get by. And it's just a horrible way to live. But at the same time, that's where their mind is. So they don't think anything's wrong with that. They're not fine, but they're okay where they are, but they don't know how to change that or conceptualize the understanding around that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the case for Probably more people than people would really like to admit. I don't want to say most people, but I remember reading this study, and I can't find the study anymore, so I'm not going to say it's a valid study, but sounds valid enough to me. This is like years ago. I heard that I think 85% of people around that expressed dissatisfaction with their job, which to me was fascinating because I would argue for most people, unless you know inherit a lot of money or win the lottery or something crazy, for most people, work is gonna be most of your life. So if most people are so unhappy with the work they do, that's effectively like telling the way I interpret that is most people are dissatisfied with their lives. So my thing is like, well, you only live once and you don't even know how long you're going to live. So maybe sooner than later we should try to fix that.
Well, that's the thing what you just said with how long they're going to live. They don't understand the concept of time. So you understand time. Living or dying is an irrelevant state of understanding for you at that present moment. What are some of the things you use to kind of help people understand their time and get them into that better realm of using it more wisely? Like, say, do you have like maybe like a process or something to kind of people can understand a lot better?
Yeah. So the general thing now, just to give people an idea of how much their time's worth, I have this thing called the time value quiz.
Ooh.
It's super short. It takes less than a minute. I think it's about 10 to 15 questions. I forget exactly how many, but it pretty much runs through different questions that I think more or less, well, it's kind of indicative of how you see time. So it asks questions like, do you feel happy at the end of the day? Do you feel like you have more, do you feel like you need more hours in the day? Depending on how you answer, it'll give you a value of your time. And it's usually $0, $25 an hour, $50, 75, whatever. Based on what you get, I kind of give you recommendations, or at least the quiz gives you recommendations on what you should be doing. Some of those things might be if you value your time highly and you feel like you're successful every day, maybe you want to do more hobbies and more things to have more fun every day. Because if you make a lot of money, you know, you probably don't need more money if you're comfortable, but you might want more just general life satisfaction. So delegate and outsource more stuff. If you're at the bottom tier where you feel like your time is worth, where your time's effectively worth like zero, you probably need to make your time worth a bit more. So get some skills, learn something, find a way to make more money, more time money. And that might just be something like studying or taking courses or whatever. But that's kind of like the first step that I put people through to get them to kind of get there, to kind of get a value of their time. And then from that point on, usually I kind of get people to identify actual goals, because a lot of people don't actually have, at least in my experience, a lot of people don't have any real goals. And to me, it's like if you don't have any real goals, it's easy to kind of, I call it ghosting through life. It's easy to ghost through life because you really don't have anything to do.
I feel like that kind of goes with like their purpose, a purpose that drives them forward and gets them to somewhere else than where they are. Like people have purposes every day. Like, yeah, my purpose is to drink. My purpose is to go out and act a fool. I mean, it's a purpose, but it doesn't mean it's a good purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, purpose-driven people. A lot of people need to kind of find that to understand that in their lives. That's just me.
No, I mean, I completely agree. I agree. I've heard people ask before too, if you have no purpose, how do you find purpose? And I feel like it's a weird, it's like,
I've that before too.
you've been asked that before too?
Yeah, many times. I think I know my understanding of that is you don't really, if you're trying to find something so hard, that means you're not really doing it the correct way. Like, as you work on yourself, take back the control of your life, heal, go through these little things, building your fitness, building up who you are, being better with your friends, your family. You do those things, you kind of, your purpose kind of will kind of find you. You have to work on you. That's what I feel about it. People are trying to find this, find that. Maybe this is it. Maybe you have to try 1,000 things. That's fine. I had tons of jobs and stuff I thought were my purpose and they weren't, you know? And some people never find it. It's unfortunately sad.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is sad if they never find it. But what you said, I completely agree with. I was going to say, if people are trying to find their purpose, I think actively trying to find it is a good way for you to never find it.
Be under here somewhere.
Yeah.
Find it.
It's almost like this is gonna sound maybe a little bit nerdy, but I love Harry Potter.
Hell yeah, brother.
And there's a what's her name, Luna, in Harry Potter. I think at one point she's looking for her socks or something in one of the movies, and they're like, how will you find your sock? And she goes, when I need it, it'll turn up. And I think at the end of the movie, it's just like hanging up on some random like ceiling. She just looks up and it's there.
He told you.
But yeah, it's like in a weird way, it's like I think that's like purpose. Like when you need it, it'll come up. You don't need to like actively be putting all your time and effort to finding it. I think if you just are living life in a positive way, if you're actively doing new things, trying to push yourself, whatever purpose you need in life, it'll come find you when you're ready for it. I know that probably sounds again
Like that.
mystical.
Sounds really good because like you can have multiple purposes. Maybe your purpose
Yeah.
is to be a mother or a father. That's a purpose. Maybe your purpose is to go to work and support them. That's a purpose. But at the same time, there's certain, I feel that when you're looking for a purpose and there's certain things within that purpose that you still feel like something is wrong or disconnected or not right, really got to look on the inside and see what's going on, you know? And sometimes you can't listen to everyone else out there. You got to figure out stuff yourself, you know? Not
Yeah.
everything works for everyone. Like you were saying earlier, we're all so different. You have to just listen, understand, take little things and nuggets, and then really trial and error and figure things out. Try stuff. If it doesn't work, good. Don't quit. Like it goes back to this quote I heard when I was having on this other podcast with someone talking about how people, like most people don't try, but just you trying 1%, you're above everybody else. And then being in that 1%, you just keep going, but everyone else would stop when they're almost there. But then you keep going and you can get there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You when you brought up like quitting just now, this is another thing I've been pushing a lot on people. Because I was reading a while back and I was kind of figuring out like what exactly makes one successful. Because that's something that, as far as like productivity and time management is concerned, people want to be productive to get something. Like a company wants higher productivity because they want to make more revenue, which is more profit, maybe grow the company, whatever. An individual wants to be more productive because the more productive you are, the quicker you can get to your goal, whatever that goal may be. So I was trying to like really dissect what exactly makes one successful in any area. So that way, if you're being productive, you know what you're actually trying to get. I found 3 things that are effectively what create success. And you kind of mentioned one, but the 3 things are pretty much grit, consistency, and iteration. And for anyone listening, grit is I know I'm going to fail. I expect to fail, but I'll keep going anyway, despite failure. And I think that's where most people like fall off. They fail a little bit, or they have a fear of failure, and they don't try. Which, if you don't try, you'll never be successful at something because you never attempted
it. Wrong way to do anything, but not doing it at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so like that's step number 1. Step 2 is consistency. You're gonna fail, but you're not gonna get the goal you want probably as quickly as you want it, or at the very least, it's not gonna, for the most part, come right away. It's kind of like the person that starts a business thinking that they'll be one of the social media influencers who get rich overnight and they're 21 years old driving Lamborghinis. It's like it's probably not gonna happen for you, not at least not right now, but maybe in 10 years, maybe in 20 years, maybe 40 years, who knows? But you got to be consistent. You got to be working on it for a long enough time period to see what'll happen.
People forget about that because then in that process, you build the character, you build the systems, and you build this ability to keep that money, to keep that business that you make. People forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole conversation right there. Keeping the money, spending it the correct way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For like consistency and iteration, I like working out, and I've done like training in the past, like help people with personal training. So I like to think of it from like a fitness perspective. And I've seen a lot of people where they want to like get in shape. It's January 1st, New Year's resolution. I want to get the best body I've ever had this year.
I hate the gym during those times.
Me too. And you see people go in for like a week or two and they're not consistent because they only go for a week or two and they give up. But part of it, yeah, it's like it's not working. I did a dumbbell curl once and I don't have gigantic arms. It's like, well, you did a dumbbell curl once. The dudes you see who have gigantic arms, assuming they're not doing like some other drugs on the side.
10,000 times.
They do it 10,000 times or 100,000 times, or they've been doing it for years. So you got catching up to do. And then, iteration. I think people don't understand when you're doing something, you're probably not going to get it right the very first time. So yeah, like having a business, anyone who ever started a business knows that any idea you have is probably, the idea could be good enough, but the execution of the idea is probably not going to work the very first time you try it for whatever reason. There's something that's probably going to go wrong, or realistically speaking, some things that'll
I thought it was
that'll go wrong.
magic. They just started working and I started making money and having clients and changing lives, like instant gratification. It didn't go that way. It's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just kind of sticking with the fitness thing. It's like, working out. You work out, you might try doing a bench press. You're probably not going to get the form down correct the first time. You might need to tweak it a little bit. Maybe bring your, I don't want to get too deep into like the actual form of stuff, but tweak
taking
up,
notes.
tweak the workout a little bit to get the results you want over time. But, I've found that those three things, great consistency and iteration, I haven't found any goal yet where those three things haven't applied.
I could not agree more with that. I love you comparing it to the fitness. 'Cause I say that to people all the time. Like me having to go to the gym, had to learn how to lift, how to learn how to create that habit and create that discipline is the same thing you can bring over to a business, over to your life. And people they don't get that. They don't see it because in the gym, like you said, you're not going to see it. You have to keep doing it and doing those reps and failing and tweaking it. I love that because it's so true with life. People just like, oh, well, I want to get a six pack or I want to do this. Well, you don't want to do anything. You're not doing anything. So try
Yeah.
something. Figure out something and do it, I mean, I could sit on the couch and eat potato chips all day. My business could grow itself, I guess, in some magic fantasy world, sure. But
Yeah. I mean, that'd be nice. That'd be pretty awesome to
it'd be kind of cool, actually. Hold on.
eat chips. Anyone who can invent chips that give you six-pack abs while doing nothing at all, that's a $1 trillion idea.
Please come on the podcast and sponsor everything. Get over here right now. I like how you said the abs thing because people are always talking about, oh, well, why do you want abs? I'm like, it's not that I want abs, but it's the consistency and the work that people put in to get them. And then once you get them, you see all that work and how it's built up and everything. That kind of work I can then put into other parts of my life. I can do this here with myself. I can do this with other people. People kind of don't really see that correlation because getting abs is not an easy thing. It's hard. You have to stop eating a lot of the foods, the way you eat certain ways, track your macros, all that stuff, The same with business. You got to track all your business stuff too. So really
Yeah.
together, man. Hell yeah.
No, absolutely. Fitness is kind of like, maybe I'm using the word metaphor incorrectly, but fitness to me is like a metaphor of life.
It is. Now, I just learned something recently about fitness that the more muscle you have on your body, the less likely you'll have diabetes.
Yeah.
Like something with the glue, I don't want to say the wrong words here, but something with another chemical and another chemical that the muscle fights against. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I've heard that too. Yeah. I believe it.
I'm like, whoa. Like it kind of just clicked with me a lot more. Just kind of work harder.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, we were talking earlier, over time, all these things that we're doing, that we've done, that we've talked about, like we've been doing this for a while. It wasn't something we did overnight. Like the gym and fitness, that took me over a 3-year period, of just failing, trying, failing. And now I'm doing consistently 5-6 days a week. But that's not how I started. I tried 7 days, I failed. I tried 3 days, okay, I was doing better. And just kind of slowly progress with and build that discipline. Like we were saying earlier, people need to see that start, not that finish. But those sports, they're great. They go together. They work. Whoever doesn't see that, what are you doing with your life?
You really have to have a long-term mindset, I think, with any goal. I think, you mentioned earlier, you talked about like the business thing with the finances. I remember when I was younger, I'd heard someone say, you don't want to get your goals too quickly. And it was a weird thing. It's like, imagine you're 21 and say, for example, you have a financial goal. You want to make 6 figures or something. And someone says to you, you don't want to make 6 figures too fast. In your mind, you're like, why not? Why would I not want to make 6 figures that fast or whatever, money or whatever goal, get a 6-pack like quickly? And one, the discipline, you won't have discipline if you get it too quickly.
Your systems will fail.
Yeah. It like your system, the downside for getting something too quickly, I think it just becomes kind of this, I'm saying this in a weird way, but I'll put it this way. I've seen studies of people who win the lottery, and I've heard that after a few years of winning the lottery or within a year or so, they're back to where they started or significantly worse.
I've heard
and it's like,
yeah.
it's just like, because you get the money quickly, but you haven't built up the discipline, the skill of spending money, the skill of investing money. And you only really get those things by going through the process and actually really trying to achieve your goal. Like the journey, in a sense, is the thing that you need.
I just learned that recently. They enjoy the journey. Don't worry about getting somewhere so fast. Because like you just said, that journey is building up all of these systems and the discipline. Just enjoy your journey. Enjoy it. Have fun. I just learned that recently myself. So I was so like, I gotta get there. I gotta get there. I'm like, why do I have to get there? What happens when I get there? Then what? Am I fulfilled?
Yeah.
Is my destiny fulfilled already? Is that it? Is that my life? Is it over? Like, what do I do after that?
Yeah. It sometimes like the destination, I feel like people have to think a lot about. I know I have a lot of random stories, but
Oh
this
no,
one,
keep them coming.
I remember when I was in, technically not in college, but when this is like right after I think the first time I got kicked out. I was working at a gas station and I was very antisocial going into working at this gas station. Had a lot of really bad social anxiety. So in a weird way, the gas station, me getting kicked out was kind of it was a good way to improve because it forces you to be around people and it forces you to talk to people. And I remember I had a goal to like learn people's names that would be consistent customers at our gas station. And sadly I forget his name. I think his name was like Darren. He was a police officer that would come in a lot. Very cool guy. And I remember he would count down the days until he retired. He'd come in and say like, Lenny, in about 3 months, it'll be my last day on the force. I'll be retiring. I'm gonna go with my wife to Bahamas, whatever. And I remember he was gone for about 4 months. He came back and I said, "Oh, Darren, how's it been? How was your vacation?" And he goes, "It was okay for the first week."
I'm on
And it
top
got boring.
again. Oh,
Yeah, he got bored. He was like, I thought, he's like, all this time I was hoping retirement would be a lot nicer. Now I kind of just want to work again. But
I hear people say that all the time.
it was so fascinating to me because it's like for most people, like at least when I was around a lot of people in their 20s, in that college town, most people I would encounter, they were working to retire. They're like, yeah, I'll do this job and in 40, 50 years, 60 years, I'll retire and I'll drink my mimosa on the beach and just be happy. And it's like, I'm meeting someone who is at that stage now and he doesn't even enjoy it. And he wasn't like unhappy in general. I think, I'm sure he found something else to do that fulfilled his time.
Find another purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of coming full circle back to purpose. Yeah.
It is. Because like I hear that from people all the time. For like, yeah, I'm retired now and I'm miserable. Or they retire, then they just die. They
I've heard
had
that.
no purpose, there was no direction anymore. Like every time people bring that up, I always have the conversation. Why do you want to retire? Where are you trying to retire from? They're kind of like, wait, what do you mean? Wait, oh, they just kind of reframe it and kind of started thinking about it differently. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't believe in retirement. I believe in keeping a purpose, finding a purpose, and just keep not necessarily at working at what I do, but finding something else to do. I help other people as well. No,
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah,
things
absolutely.
going. Life's a hell
Yeah.
of a drug, man. Let me tell you, it's not a pill you want to swallow all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the retirement thing. There's a book called Ikigai I read years ago. That was one of the findings in that book. They studied Okinawans, I think it was. I think they're the longest living people on the planet. And I think on average Okinawans in Japan live I think to like 120, something like that.
Whoa.
And a lot of them said that having a purpose was what they believed, at least, is what kept them alive. They didn't believe in like just retiring and doing nothing. It was just like we have stuff to do, and because we have stuff to do, there's a reason to be alive to get that thing done. So I don't know. I just thought that was, you made me think about it when you brought that up. I think that's
Yeah, I
awesome.
love that. It makes sense. This makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okinawans, the 120. Holy cow! I don't know about God. I love life. I love living. I mean, I've died before. That's another story. 120. If I'm living that long, I better have like some kind of robotics,
Yeah.
everything redone in armor, full on robot, like something better give. I better be able to leap tall buildings. Like,
Yeah.
50-year-old man, like, woo, look what I can do.
Get the cybernetic implants and get the
Yeah.
Terminator stuff going on.
I want to be the first of my kind. Oh man, Lenny, it's been great having you on here today and talking with you. It's been a hell of a good time.
It has been a
Definitely
pleasure.
have
I've
you
had a
back on here again.
Absolutely. This has been a great experience. I've been enjoying this.
Hell yeah. Before we go, maybe a few things you can leave our audience with that we may want them to know, and where they can reach out to you if they'd like to work with you as well?
Yeah. I guess as far as like final thoughts, things I want them to know, always be working towards eudaemonia, building those 3 pillars. Have that be the lifelong goal. And that's all built by time management. I would say if they want to reach out to me, personally, the best place is probably Instagram. My handle is Leviticus Rich. If they want to reach out to Productivity Accelerator, my company, it's productivityaccelerator.org. But those are probably the best 2
I'm gonna
places to
put
reach
that
me.
down in the show notes as well for them for easy access.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. And now one last question that I'd like to ask all my guests before they leave. Drum roll, please. What does it mean to you to be a human being?
So I was thinking about this throughout the podcast. I think this is not, I didn't intend for us to be talking about this prior, but I think it is the journey. I think to be a human, I think is just living out the journey of being a human, if that makes sense. I think it's our experiences, and I feel you can take it in a scientific direction, but I truly think, as an individual, it's being on the planet, having a set of experiences based on whatever time period you're in, and trying to make the most of it. If you learn things, it's collecting the things you learn, maybe writing a book, making podcasts, recording it somehow so that way a future generation can learn from it. And if you're part of that future generation, it's learning from it and making your life as fulfilled and meaningful as you possibly can. It's the journey of life. I think that's what makes us humans.
Hell yeah, brother. Very well said. Thank you very much. That's amazing. It's good sometimes to have things repeated several times for people. We don't always
Mhm.
get it the first time. So I feel that's always okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, Lenny, for your time. I appreciate you taking your time out of your life to come on here and talk with us today.
I appreciate you having me on, Justin. It's been a great experience. A lot of laughs, a lot of good philosophical insights and discussions.
We'll have to have you on again. Maybe we'll go down that quantum reality rabbit hole of what is
I
life, what is time. I'm down if you
I
are.
would love that. That'd be awesome.
Hell yeah. Stay tuned, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye bye.